on CNN.
It's an exclusive club, the teams that are members of the National Basketball Association. Commissioner Adam Silver wants Los Angeles Clippers owner Donald Sterling kicked out of it. And he's going to ask the 29 other owners, the members of the Board of Governors, to force Sterling to sell his team. Several have already indicated that they're on board, but others may feel that forcing Sterling's hand could set a dangerous precedent on team ownership. And that's our unfinished story tonight. Either way, one thing is certain tonight. To his fellow owners, Donald Sterling is now the equivalent of the third rail. He's too dangerous. Nobody wants to be seen with him. And yet, while we know he made ugly, racist comments, we have to consider this question. Is forcing him to sell the Clippers going too far? Sterling might be a creep, but he's the legal owner of that team. We're joined by Mike Pesca, a contributor to NPR and Slate, who's host of Slate's podcast, The Gist, which debuts next week. And also with us, former NBA player Cedric Maxwell. Mike, you wrote this. You said the process does raise some troubling issues. Yeah. What are they?
Well, I mean, we're also glad out of this ugliness that we struck down this racist, loathsome guy. He seems to have finally got his comeuppance. But here's just a few of the issues. One, the recordings were probably illegal, and there's certainly a violation of his privacy. Two, there's a mob mentality. When there's a mob mentality and we like the result, we usually don't question it. But it does seem like there was this ball rolling. Three, this is essentially a thought crime. And the thoughts were terrible, and you can pair it with his actual action. But we're striking out at the things that he said within the last week, and not at his much more pernicious actions where he denied housing to blacks and Hispanics. And my biggest problem is there's no internal soul searching by the NBA. It seems like they're acting like we cauterized this wound and therefore it's gone. But what about when he was fined by the government for saying that black people smelled and attracted vermin, and there was absolute silence on the issue by NBA owners? We're not seeing any grappling with the past. We're just seeing striking out in the present.
And you're saying that the two have been blended together. The housing background that he has, where apparently he acted on his racism, but I hear you say, yeah, in this instance, where's the evidence that those sickening thoughts were acted upon in his capacity as an NBA owner?
It seems like when TMZ plays audio tapes, then that is a big public relations kerfuffle, and that's a thing to deal with. When there's this horrible instance of actual discrimination with real-life victims that we have to drive out of society, zip. No one said a thing.
Cedric Maxwell, thanks for being here. Respond to what you just heard from Mike Pesca.
Well, one thing I do agree with, I did not like the way the information was gathered. I think it was horrible. But at the same time, I am not letting off Sterling for that because, you look at the things which are said. The commissioner said it right. These things have gone on. It's gone in the public now, so you have to deal with it. I don't think that one thing the commissioner had to do was to appease, one, the players in the league, and then appease also the environment which was around that. You could not have him in this league if, in fact, you were going to go on further with your game. So I do agree with the commissioner, but at the same time, I do agree I did not like the way the information was gathered in the first place.
Yeah, I'm going to speak to
that. The young lady.
I am going to speak to that at the end of this broadcast tonight in a closing commentary. Mark Cuban seemed to be headed down the road that you've articulated, but then he quickly backed off. And I guess in the face of the snowball that you referenced, are any of these owners going to make the points that you've stated?
It would seem that Silver got them all in line. And so one day you have you have Cuban giving an interview, raising questions like who's next and is it a slippery slope and what if they don't like what I say or what if someone records another owner? Next day, we're 100% behind Silver. And look, I think Cuban's a thoughtful guy. I know he's generally a libertarian, and I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. People are allowed to change their minds. I think that's a good thing, or maybe he saw the writing on the wall, or maybe he just said, this is not a hill I want to die on. This ball's rolling. We're going to get Sterling out. Although he might sue, he might get an antitrust injunction, he might play this out for so long that he won't be divested of the team. And that's why I think my optimal thing that the commissioner could have done, I don't think it's realistic. I understand what he does, who his constituency is, what his powers are. I think he should have fined him. I think he should have suspended him. And I think he should have held over his head this idea that I could fire you. but I think he should have tried to convince him to quit and let the public speak and let the players speak and just be this big backlash that might have devalued the franchise come a sale.
Cedric, you've been in that NBA locker room. Is there a possibility that now there's a lot of analysis of what gets said player to player, that if the N-word should be dropped even in a casual sense from NBA star to another, it'll be looked at in a whole different way now?
Well, it's scary, really. You think about it. Anybody could be mic'd. And you think about a job. If either you or I were mic'd all the time and somebody came up about a conversation we had, we probably would be fired. We would not be around at all. The thing I liked about the way the new commissioner, he went, was the fact that he put the onus on the owners. And he said, look, I don't have enough votes right now, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put your foot to the fire, and it's going to be owner to owner to owner. What owner is going to say no? No, I want to have him around. What owner is going to say yes? If it is a public battle, I tell you what, one thing you're going to see right now is almost political suicide if you are an owner and you don't try to get rid of Donald Sterling.
No doubt about it, and that's what you were referring to. Nobody could stand up in this environment, and frankly, you're on the outside. You can make these points, but no one who's attached to the system, frankly, could make these points and maintain their job.
I think not. And I think that is actually kind of a shame of it. I mean, this is a way for them to take a stance that makes it look like, hey, we're striking out against racism. But racism is so endemic among at least this one owner, maybe others. They're never getting to the root causes. They're never talking about why we countenanced it for so many years. They can kind of pat themselves on the back and say, see, we're against racists. I don't know.
I have
are
to
they?
say, Cedric Maxwell, I'm shocked the more I learn about what went on in the past. I've read the LA Times coverage about this guy paying $2.7 or $3 million, the largest ever settlement of a discrimination case of its kind. How in the hell was that not a bigger obstacle for him before all of this occurred?
Well, I think that really is true, but I think that really the NBA looked for that real smoking gun. The smoking gun was him going on saying, look, I don't want black people at my game. One thing I was a little confused about was the fact that, you know, not letting Sterling off again, but I was a little surprised that he did not use the N-word in this conversation he had with his girlfriend. I mean, I didn't understand, but so many things that kind of puzzled me about this.
Totally agree.
But again, let me make sure this. I have to say that I am definitely with the commissioner. I think he did the right thing. I think it appeases a lot of things, but at the same time, I would have to say that Donald Sterling, to me, is not going down without a fight. This isn't going to be the last thing you hear from Donald Sterling.